Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to our second episode. I am Supreet.
And hello everyone from my side, I'm Manveer Sandhu.
So today we are going to be discussing a pretty current topic, I would say. It's happening right now.
Yep.
We are talking about the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Woohoo!
Yay!
I feel like we should have added some sound effects there.
Yeah. So, do you have some horses in the game? That's my question.
I guess it's hard to say because as an immigrant, you're always divided.
That's true.
Like, you kind of support both the countries. You support the country that you were born and raised in, and then you also support of course, the country that's providing for you currently and you're a resident of. So it's always a battle, rather. But I would say, yeah, it depends on the kind of sport that is going on, or the games that day. If you have someone from the U.S., I mean, I'll support them. If you have someone from India, and obviously that's a no-brainer, I'll be supporting them as well. So it's kind of a dichotomy there.
Yeah. I agree. It's same for me. For me, like, of course, everyone from India, right? Like, supporting them. And then, especially if they're from Punjab, which is like 30% or 20% of the top athletes are from Punjab and Haryana.
Yeah.
Right? So, which is crazy.
Yep.
To think of a country with 1 billion people don't have a lot of but what I feel envious about you is you live in the United States, and that's where most of the athletes are from United States and China, right? Like, those two countries have the most. And for me, like, I did I don't know if you saw Andre DeGrasse. He's Canadian.
I did.
Won the gold
I did
today,
this morning.
which is crazy good. Like, that's the guy, because I've been following him for a while. I watch his stuff on Facebook and all that, but I think in 2012, that's the first time I saw. I think he was number 2nd or 3rd to Usain Bolt in the 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
But ever since, it's been...
Yeah. I was kind of disappointed that Noah Lyles from the U.S. didn't win that one, because he's been all throughout the qualifying rounds in the 2020 Olympics, the first heat and then the semifinals. He was taking it slow. Like, he qualified. He barely did the bare minimum to qualify for the final, because he was wanting to go the hardest on the final heat. But I guess that didn't go well. But it's good though. It's still good because I think the 2nd and 3rd spot was still U.S. Two athletes.
Yeah.
So it kind of
yeah, it's funny, right, when you look at the numbers, and the numbers are nowhere near Bolt's. It's just crazy to think of, right?
It's not even close. Yeah, I mean, today's was 200 meters, but yeah, even in 200, even in 100 meters especially, Bolt's 9.58, I think, or 59. That's his record, and nobody has been able to break it since.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but he's in a different category, or class rather.
Yeah.
So I guess going back to just initial topic of 2020 Olympics, we're just gonna be focusing. When I say just gonna be focusing, I mean most of the time we're gonna be talking about India and Indian athletes in 2020 Tokyo Olympics, and how they're doing, and what the expectations are, or what they were. And maybe you want to go ahead first?
Yeah, well, right now, I guess since we're talking, it's 8:33 my time, and the hockey game is actually going on. It's the bronze medal game. India versus Germany, and India is actually in the lead 5-3, so which is pretty good. That's after...
I was going to follow up on that.
If they do win today, I think that's after 40 years or something. They would win a medal in hockey.
After 49 years.
That's
it's ridiculous.
Crazy.
And that's supposed to be our national sport.
Wow. I'm pretty sure that's
Isn't
cricket
that
at this point, because
it is.
It's the nation that it's what's being played, not what's what's actually. I don't think is it even in the constitution, something being the national
I think
sport?
yeah, it has been declared as a national sport. Hockey has been for the most part,
Oh, okay.
or forever basically, ever since independence. But the thing is, I think they probably did it because it's
They were winning at the
when
time,
the
right?
first yeah, they were winning when the first modern Olympics started. They were all over
Yeah, and that's when
podium, like they were
the
number one like
Tianjin and everything,
4 or
right?
5 times.
Like all those people were there.
Yeah. Those those were the legends.
Yeah.
But then I guess that's the main topic we're gonna get into is how it's just been a slippery slope ever since that time. I would say um, it's. I think it roots from a lot of different things. I think for anyone who's not familiar with India or Indian culture, probably you would be like, why are there about almost 1.5 billion people
Yeah.
and you barely win any gold?
Yeah.
So just here's the stat for you. Just we've only had one Olympic gold by an individual. One.
That was Bindra, right, in
All-
2008?
Yeah,
The shooting.
yeah. Abhinav Bindra, and then all the other gold medals, like 7 or 8 of them, have been just hockey.
Yeah, which
So
was
we
like
haven't
40,
even
50 years ago.
Yeah, almost 50 years ago. So
That's crazy.
that kind of gives you an idea of where we stand as a country in terms of Olympics and Olympic support. Even to this day now, like in 2020, we only have 3 medals, 1 silver and 2 bronze.
That's crazy, man.
Which is crazy because we're the second most populated country in the world,
Yeah.
and we can't even win 1 gold.
Uh,
Let alone an individual. We can't even win a team.
Yeah, I was thinking if it's genetics, but it's not really. I think the major issue, like for example, China, they do really well in Olympics, but they do that because it's almost the way they train their athletes is from like this. They selected particular sports and they make them really good from basically them being toddlers, even, right? Like not I'm saying toddler.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just maybe exaggerating a little bit, but when they were really small from that
I
point
know
on,
what you mean.
right? They've been just doing all, training crazy all over the place, right? So it is
Yeah.
a little bit. I think that's one thing. And India, I think the main reason is from what I've played in India a little bit. Of course, I didn't play on a very high level, but from what all the years I've played in India, I've seen there's a big issue with corruption and just I think that's a cultural thing, right? Like everything else in India,
Yeah.
sports is the same thing, right? Like the people who have some influence are usually favored, and
Yep.
it's in every sport. There is a lot of talent in India, but I think if you can't, let's say you're from a middle class family or you're from a poor family, it's really really hard. Like you have to be like, even though you're really good, but you give up very easily, or it's very easy for you to give up because there's not really an incentive, right? So
Yeah, and there's no support from your family. There's no support from the actual coaches or actual people who are actually supposed to be there, or your teachers to be teaching you all these things, just because they're like in their mind, or I guess that's a generational thing too. In their mind, yeah, just do academics, study, get a job. You should be good. I mean, they don't think of it as you can't have that as a career.
yeah, well,
Which says a lot about society in India right now.
yeah, I agree. Like I've gone through that with my like honestly, my family was not that like that. My family was really supporting. I just sucked at playing sports. Like I played basketball for a bit. I sucked at it. I thought I was good. I was not really that good. I think I didn't give that. Well, other thing is there's not a sports system, right? Like I came here, started watching. There's not even like you can't really watch basketball in India, right? Properly. But now you probably can, but at that time you couldn't. And and at the same time, you don't like at school. I didn't learn anything. We learned the basics, like bare minimum basics about basketball, but we didn't have proper drills. No proper infrastructure to the game. Like there's no proper playbooks, right? Nothing like that. So you never learn the game the right way, right? And no wonder you there's like only few sports India do good at, and those are more athletic ones, because there's not a lot of well, you have to have you have to do a lot of training, but there's not like basketball is a very technical game, right? When it comes to it,
Yeah.
cricket
Yeah.
to me it is like cricket is the most popular sport in India, but I don't think it's that
Mm-hmm.
technical, and it's easy to get started, right? And I think it's
Yeah.
I'm not saying cricket is easy, but it's easy to get
Yeah.
started with, right? Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of basketball, for example, you have to have height, you have to have all like high twitch muscles, right? All that stuff. But I think
Yeah.
uh, but still India should be should have more athletes at that level. Be it basketball, I'm talking about
Yeah. For
basketball because I
sure.
play basketball, but
Yeah.
even soccer, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have a proper soccer team. We do, but it's not really
No.
an elite team.
Yeah, we fail to qualify for the World Cup every freaking time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's not the best. But going back to just sports and just us playing, or I mean, you and I played, I guess, in our schools barely, and then with our friends. It was just more of a hobby.
Yeah.
We would have loved to make it into, a professional
Well, if
sport.
there
But
was something
I
like that
guess
in India, right? That's the other thing. We don't
I
have
know.
anything but
And
cricket.
if there, yeah, if there was an opportunity, we would have. Um, I guess this comes back to the main point of the society, the mindset, the culture,
Yeah.
that doesn't let you grow into this player or a professional sports player even if you want to. I think definitely things are changing now.
Yeah.
Just because of social media and people see even parents are on social media in India now, which is always so funny to me because I remember when I was in high school, they'd be like, "Why are you on your
Yeah,
phone all
now
the time?"
they
And
are.
now when I call them or when I see them in India, they're like always on their phone. I'm like, "See, this is what we were doing in high school. That's what you're doing now."
Yeah.
So it was kind of ironic, but yeah, I mean, I would say there are a couple of points in terms of why we don't do well in the Olympics, or at least that's what I think why we don't, because it's every 4 years. You get attention for 15 days every 4 years.
Yep.
That you're disappointed in your country, and the rest of the 3.5 almost 4 years that you forget. Oh yeah, we do have Olympics. Oh yeah, we do have athletes we need to train or prepare, and the athletes that are Olympic level, they don't have that support. Maybe they do now, but
Not really.
not before this. Not before.
Yeah.
Yeah, the training infrastructure isn't there. Even after 2016 Rio Games, we had 2 medals in total,
Yeah.
which is this time is an upgrade because we already have 3, and we're playing for a couple others
Yeah.
right now. So hopefully we'll win a couple more.
Yeah, I think we might win the hockey one today, so that's exciting.
It is looking good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, going back to cricket and then some other sports, I mean, cricket dominates everything. Going back to the technicality thing, I think it is technical, but it's funny to me when I try to explain to my American friends here what cricket is and how it's played, and they're always like, "No, it's too complicated."
Well,
So I guess
yeah,
it's a culture thing.
that's true. Well, I think it's easy for us because we've always, known about it, right? Watched it, and I think that's the other thing, right? Like on TV, you don't watch a lot of other sports because India is not really doing good. But it's like correlated, right? India's not doing good because you don't watch other sports. So it's everything like that is really, yeah. It comes down to
Yeah.
what you see around yourself too, right? Like for example,
Mhm.
we don't have basketball like gyms or courts in India that are like in the streets, right? It's only at school or colleges, whatever, right? In Canada and everywhere else, you can just probably go to a park and there's a basketball court, right? In USA and Canada, the same thing. And same for, like for example, cricket and baseball are not similar, but they both have a bat and a ball, right? But India never got in good at that. But I think the other thing is like in America, what America did really good is they commercialized sports, right? I think that India did the same with cricket with IPL, right? But that's the only thing. America has done it for everything, NHL, NFL, NBA,
multiple leagues,
and then there's a soccer
and
league
I think
too.
that's what India failed in doing, because once you have a sport or a league that's dominating and you don't have any competitors, that's what happens. It takes over everything else. Also, if you look at the Indian cricket team now, it's dominating. It's number one in almost all formats of the.
Well, the reason they do
know.
have the funding for it, right? That's the other thing. Like if you compare,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to.
if you compare
Yeah,
the cricket funding with everything else, it's way more.
Yeah, and then that's where the commercial part comes in. The whole reason for them creating the IPL, or for people who don't know, the Indian Premier League, it's kind of like a short version that 2020 that was created as a commercialized league that was played in India, still is played in India, where you can for the first time have club players, international players playing for different clubs, just like any other soccer league or NBA that we have in US. So it was a big thing, and it still is, and a lot of people or players, young players, just aspire to play in that league, let alone in the national team, because it's so competitive. India has good 3 to 4 teams that they can play at all times. I'm not even kidding, because there are 11 players, and then you can have 3 or 4 other teams that are so good that'll be able to compete at
like
national level.
That is like USA and the basketball teams, right? Like
basketball.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, because they've been beaten by Argentina.
No, that's true.
Nigeria, and I'm like, what's going on?
Well, to be honest, all the best players are not in that team when you really think about it, right? But that was the other thing about, like, when you talk about basketball. I don't remember one year. It was, I think, in 1980 somewhere. India actually made the Olympics for basketball, but I think at that point it was an amateur sport. Not really amateur sport, but US was just sending their amateur players, right? Just college players, no professionals. But I think that got changed with the Dream Team in '92. I think when Jordan and all that, Charles Barkley, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, all those went in. But so like that's the
also they.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. Also, going back to the Olympics. So what's funny is that they have been trying to get cricket into Olympics for like last, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And every time they're like, in the next Olympics, we're for sure going to have cricket. They have tried to modify the game. They're now even thinking about, let's do 10 overs per side to just include it in the Olympics. But I do see it coming to Olympics. I think there's a really good chance that it's going to make it in the Olympics next time, just because there's a new league in England. I don't know if you've heard about it, called the 100, where they only have, instead of 20 overs, which is 120 balls, they just have 100 balls, and each over is 10 balls, which is ridiculous. So
just 10
something
hours?
like that could work. No, it's so the 2020 game takes like 3 hours, so it's probably less than that, probably 2 hours, 2.5, give or take.
Yeah, I remember when the 2020s came, right? Everyone thought that was crazy.
Yeah. But I think they gotta do whatever they can to get into the Olympics, because
they gotta secure one medal.
You know what's crazy to me? We're definitely assured a medal. There's no way the Indian cricket team can't.
You
make
never
top
know;
3.
they'll get too cocky and mess it up too.
I mean, that's always a possibility, but for sure, like, there's at least we can go away with the bronze, if not silver or a gold. But I think it's a really good possibility to actually add it in the Olympics. And the crazy part is soccer is the number 1 game, the most popular sport in the world. Cricket is number 2, and nobody in North America knows about it. When I say nobody, general public doesn't.
Well, in Canada it's a little bit different.
Everybody's dominated.
I know US is a little bit different. In Canada, I think because
there's so many Indian people.
Well, that and Indian, Pakistani, and all that, right? When it comes to population,
a lot of South Asian community.
So I do like, if, for example, in Calgary, it was really surprising. It was just because when I came in 2012 August, right, and there's this park where we used to live. I walked the park. There were literally signs of different teams. They were having a tournament, like a 2020 tournament, and in the big park there, they had all the music systems and everything, right? Like all the sound system and everything, and they were even playing the IPL sound, that goes. I don't want to mimic it, but That sound
Yeah,
was
I know which one you're talking about. It's the most famous, iconic tune ever.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that was surprising to me. I do remember Canada used to have a team in Cricket World Cup, right? Like a long time ago.
Oh,
And most of them were
yeah,
basically Indians,
Indian players.
Indian
Yeah,
Pakistanis,
and
and some maybe a few
yeah, and
Canadians.
I think they do still have strong, local teams there. I know there's a lot in BC. There are a lot in Calgary because we have friends there and who play. Some of my classmates as well. So from high school. So I know they still have teams. I know this Canadian team is pretty good as well. When I say pretty good, they're trying to make the World Cup qualifying.
Well,
Every
I
time.
think why they don't now is they changed some rules few
Mhm.
years ago, and I think before there
Uh-huh.
used to be more groups, right, and there were more teams. They've changed the structure of the
Yeah.
World Cup, and after that, I think now
Yeah,
it's
they
down
were.
to like 10 teams or maybe 8 teams, but before there used to be like 12
Yeah,
or
they've.
16.
Yeah, they've been going back and forth on these. It's almost like every World Cup, which is every 4 years for the Cricket World Cup. For the people who don't know, but they keep changing things every time. So sometimes they're like, yeah, we'll allow 12 teams to compete, and at some points they were like 16, and then you would go have qualifying matches and have a final qualifying teams, and just 10 of them would play. But
Yeah.
now at last time it was just 10, and then I've even for the 2020 World Cup, which is different from the 50 over World Cup, they've had only 8.
Yeah.
I think in the past few. So if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, so it's kind of hard for international teams, even International Cricket Board, to see how they're gonna do this every year. But I think.
Well, I think
Yeah,
India
it's
does
even
have a
the
strong head in deciding that, because I think BCCI has
Yeah.
such a great influence over all that.
Yeah.
It's just the budget, right?
Yeah,
Like they have
like
the most money.
all the yep, like BCCI, which is the Board of Control for Cricket in India, basically the cricket governing board in India has or makes more money than the International Cricket Council, which is called the ICC. So just imagine that, because how much influence would a single country has over the whole game of cricket? But there have been some allegations that have been thrown around recently, and even some in the past, that India has too much power or overreaching
Yeah.
in terms of selecting presidents, secretaries, vice presidents,
Well, it's
and
for
favoring
everything.
India in most cases. Yeah.
See,
So
that's the thing. India will not, go
yeah.
go how the world's go, but it will make the world go how India goes, right? And things like that.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I think I was reading this, the New York Times article that was titled "Why India Struggles to Win Olympic Gold."
Yeah, I think I
And
read that a long time ago. Not long, maybe a couple of days ago. I read.
yeah, so
I glanced at.
yeah, you looked at the headline.
Yeah, basically.
yeah, that's what I feel like people do nowadays, and especially I do that too. I'm like, yeah, I heard about it. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what it was about. Like I heard, read the headline, but yeah, it kind of goes into how India's been struggling for even when the game started in the modern Olympics, and it kind of goes into detail about why things are as bad as they are, and what the expectations are, and how they fall short every time, and how anyone in the world would think, you have more than 1 billion people, how are you struggling to get a single gold medal every Olympics? And I thought it was really interesting, because I don't think I can personally talk about the state of India right now without talking about the government of India, without talking about the corruption, without talking about the things going on.
Yep.
And I think it's a touchy subject, because a lot of people who like this government, or who follow this our prime minister, or India's prime minister, are these loyal, almost fans that don't want anyone to criticize them.
Yep.
So it kind of dips into that as well. But you get these. There are some of the quotes in here, that article that says, oh, now the government is trying really hard to change the sports system, especially after the Rio Olympics in 2016, how bad they were, and things of that nature. But the reality doesn't change. The ground reality is the same.
Yeah.
Um, I can't say for other states in India. I know for Punjab, that's the state where we were both from originally in India. It's in the north part of India, right next to Haryana, which is another good sporting state, I would say, because most of the Olympians are from Punjab and Haryana, so they've been always been at the forefront. But I just wanted to do a little put little stats up. I know you can't really see it, but
Yep.
I'm just gonna read it out to them. So just for reference, in India, or in Punjab rather, there are about 12.5K villages in India, or in just Punjab, not India.
Yep.
And out of those, 4,500 have no training facilities.
Yeah,
None
I agree.
at all. There's not even a ground. There you can't even jog, like, besides from the street. Like, that's how bad it is.
Yep.
The infrastructure is not there. There's definitely no coaches. And going back to schools, 40% of Punjab schools does not have a PT teacher or an instructor to teach. And even if you do, just from personal experience,
Wow.
they're not there doing
No,
their job.
wow.
They're just there collecting check.
Yeah, basically.
They're doing, like, oh yeah, I got this job. If you're a PT teacher, a PE teacher in India, you're like, yeah, this is just free money.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go show up and tell the kids to run around, do a lap, and be like, yeah, we're done for
Yeah.
the day. And from personal experience, I know Manveer and I went to the same high school. He was, I guess, 1 year senior to me, but he knows how things goes in India, especially in schools. Like, we used to have, I think I've talked about this so much to so many of my friends, that we used to have only one games period every week.
And that usually the maths teacher, the physics teachers will come and take over that.
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah, I'm running behind. Let me just take over. Or they'd be like, yeah, we don't have a PE teacher today. Yeah. Like, can you imagine the disappointment we had? Like, we were so excited to go play outside for 45 minutes in a week. Like, that's not too much to ask. And we would barely, in a school year, I think 2 or 3 times. That's all we did. Yeah. Were able to go out. And even when we did, it was just random PET drills. We weren't really allowed to play the games we wanted to. They'd be like, yeah, we don't really have the equipment for. And mind you, this was a private school.
Yeah.
This wasn't a government school. We went to the quote unquote high end one, So it's not like it was just a government school and the teachers didn't care, which is also another point I want to get back to later on, rather.
Yeah, I think.
But yeah, 40%.
Yeah.
Sorry, just let me just finish this one. 40% of Punjab schools doesn't have a PT teacher and instructors, and then, I was reading for 2020 and 2021 budget, I was reading Punjab's budget for just sports. They allocated 147 crores. 1 crore is a million, basically, for our...
No, 10 million. I think...
Yeah, 10 lakh is a million, 1 crore is 10 million. Yeah, my bad. See how confusing that is? I don't expect y'all to know, but yeah, that's why I tried to do it. I messed it up. Thank you, Manveer. I think out of that, they were saying barely less than 1% go to the actual facilities, infrastructure that it needs to.
Yeah, I agree.
All of it goes to salaries, their expense reimbursement of the ministers, of the teachers, the MLAs, which is a member of Legislative Assembly. They just put it in their pocket. I mean, that's what you do. You run for office, you win, and you pocket the money that the center government is sending you or allocating you, or even just your state government that's allocating you.
Well,
that's the level of corruption that's going on.
Well, we have, in Moga, the city where I'm from,
Yeah.
our school is. I don't know if you have seen that
Yeah.
the stadium that they built, right? That's been being
Yeah.
built for last 20
Classic.
years
Yeah.
or whatever, right?
Probably more than that at this point.
Yeah. So that never got completed. Like I know I played there. They have basketball courts, the shittiest one.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
they don't have proper
I've been there
facilities,
once.
and then they have badminton courts that are kind of okay, but
Mm-hmm.
as like they spent so much money on that, and I don't think even 50% of the money went actually to the stadium. I don't think that's even a very high
Nope.
number. I think it's probably all eaten
Nope.
up, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, just to go back to the point on what's in school. I think I was a little bit luckier in that prospect, like at school, that well, not lucky during the school because I was introduced to basketball. Even forget, which is
Uh-huh.
really bad. I should not forget the name of the coach. He had a PE teacher. He was
Yeah.
a Punjabi guy. He was the only Punjabi PE teacher I think that we ever had.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
forgot his name, but
I don't know. I don't
but
remember either.
he was the one who introduced us to basketball. I think around the time grade 6 or grade 7, around the time we had in March we had our final exams. That's where he started building the team, and then he built the team, and then we started playing, and I was able to have something after school, just to play basketball, you know but he had to go out of his way, like out of his daily work time, right? He has to put in that effort. It was not like he's not getting
Yeah.
paid extra for stuff like that, right? And that's the only way that in our school we had basketball. Maybe he was asked to do it. I'm not sure, but that's the only way. But I remember when I was in grade 11, our team was qualified for like our boards, ICSC's nationals, right? But they did not allow us to go for some reason. I think I'm not really sure why, but maybe they didn't have the budget for that year. Because next year I know my sister went. No, not next year. 2 years after, my sister went, and one of your classmates went too. I remember what's his name? Deep in the Red Bubble. It's one of my friends. He went there. Like their team went, but the year I was like, I actually went talk to the principal and the chairman. Right, I was like, we wanted to go. Like he said, no, we're not doing it. I'm like. It was so disappointing because we worked hard all year.
Classic.
And then, that happens. Yeah. But I remember during that time, going back to why things suck in India, I used to play after school. I used to play at Granada College, right? And we were able to play for any team. If the coach liked you, and even you were not from the school, you were able to play. So I played for, teams that from other schools, from the district level. They were open districts, so there you can basically play. But I played for other schools at this, which is like not public schools. Not private schools, public schools. But that is very common. And also, I'm switching topics. Well, it's kind of the same one. We used to have our district level matches, school district level matches, as the ST school in Moga, and then
I know
there I remember I played 1 year. I played I was under 17, I think. I was still under 17 at the point. Sorry, I played under 17. Like we had a really good team. We played against a team from Oxford. That's another school, right? And we won, and then we were supposed to have the game against ST, but the ST's coach basically came to us and said, "Oh no, this is not happening because you guys are too old." We were not, but he basically said that to us. This is not happening. And since he was the one who runs the show, because I think they get funding. I think that's the other thing, right? Depending if and it's a public school, they get funding if they're going to the next level, and that's where they make their money, right? Yep. Like that's where the corruption comes into play. So for the district level matches, we had 3 players from Sacred Heart, 3 players from Oxford, and the rest from ST. And that's basically the team that we went and played. We lost at the district level, I think, to a team from Kolkapura. I think that's where the other coach I played for later was coaching. But yeah, that happened so often, like at each level.
Yeah.
And, no wonder things are messed up, because some players are just gonna be, or somebody who doesn't like the system is never just gonna try again, right? And I think
Nope.
that's one of the main reasons.
Yeah.
I think cricket. Sorry, going back to cricket. I think cricket, because everyone plays cricket, so we still get good players. But I think there could be even better players in each sport, like in cricket and even the sports we're good at. There could be way better players, but they just never get the chance because infrastructure is not set up for sports. It's only for, like even the education. I don't want to get into that.
Academics.
But that's even that.
That's
is
a whole
worse.
other
That's
topic.
all cramming and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I agree with you. I mean, we know what the system is there. We've been through the system, so we know what's going on there. I guess to give listeners a little bit of a perspective, as you did, pretty much most cover all the topics. But yeah, going back to the school thing. I mean, I just sucked at sports. I was never really good. I mean, I did love to play different sports. It was just a hobby that we used to play with our friends. And the thing is, for cricket, like me, like most other people in the school, most other dudes in the school wanted to play cricket and wanted to compete, but we didn't have a cricket team.
Yeah.
We didn't have a facility, and it was kind of weird because even though cricket is the biggest sport in India and second biggest in the world, it wasn't encouraged.
No, it was not.
Which was so weird to me.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
And I'm like, what do you think people or students are gonna do when they're not able to explore the options they want to through their school, and they're not getting help that they want?
Yeah.
And it's still the same to this day. I know it's been a while since we've graduated high school.
It is 100% the same. Well, just to give some perspective, we do have sports scholarships, but those are really biased too, right? Because we do have
those go to the people in power. Those go to their sons, their daughters.
Unless you're really good and
their
you
friends
got in, but that's
the thing. Unless they can ignore you, that's another thing.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, right?
You.
It's really hard to stand up and not give up, right? That's the thing. It's really hard to not give up, because if the sports system is not there, well, just another thing, right? Like in school, in here, if you're passing in Canada and US, it's the same thing. If you're passing at school, getting 2.0 GPA, and you're doing good in sports, you're pretty much set for college. You can't do that in India for most cases, right? I mean, if you're really good at what you do, right? If you're like top player at the school and top 300, 400 in the country, right? Even top 1,000 in the country.
I know. I think the bare minimum is like 3.0, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
But in India, that's never the case. Like, to get to the college, you need to go through those, and at the college level too, because there's in Canada it's a little bit different, but for US there's NCAA, right? And that there's so much funding there. There's so much, money in that the players are really well supported for their education. Even if they don't make it to the pros, they are set for life, because they'll get not set for life. It depends on the decisions they make, but they're at least set for their education, right? And then
that's interesting that you bring that up, because I always say that I really wish that I came to the US, or I got to go to high school in the US. And a lot of people are like, nah, dude, that sucked. A lot of people don't have a good experience in high school. Especially I hear from people here, my friends here, who have gone to high schools in the US or let's say in Canada. Because for some reason, I don't know, I can't tell, because I definitely don't have personal experience, but I think they say that there's a lot of bullying, there's a lot of this all this high school things making you look good than others, and all these dating rumors and all
that kind of happens in India too, but it's just on a different level, right?
I guess that happens at a low level. You keep it on the down low, but not like you blast it on social media for it. That doesn't
because in India it's a taboo, right? And it's not here, so that's the main thing.
That's all another topic.
There's so much to talk about.
That's what I was saying. I was like, if we do a podcast, an episode on India, an episode is not enough.
Yeah, that is.
We're gonna have to go so in depth, in so many topics because we go on these tangents because there are a lot of things to talk about. And I think being here, we are in a unique position to see both perspectives. And I think that if we were still in India, like we wouldn't have this
No,
perspective.
I agree.
Still one of, just another youth in India just going about their life and seeing what's normal there. But if you come here, you're like, whoa, that's a completely different world, completely different values in a sense, and things that are normal and not normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, going from the school topic, and I know you mentioned college a little bit. I always said that I wanted to so that I could, pursue or even just have a chance to play the games that I wanted to explore other options than just academics. And it's just so frustrating when I think about it. Even now, kids in school that are in India in school, and they don't get to do that. They don't get to explore their creative side if they want to be a painter, a photographer, and a musician. Like, that's just so ridiculous to me. And they all just keep focus on academics. I know it's getting better, but it's still not where it should be.
I think
you're still
just on
not encouraged.
Yeah, I think one good thing is that social media has done is, they've shed light on, the other things.
Mm-hmm.
So people see that. For example, photography is getting better in India because, a lot of people can see the photographers work and, ask them questions easily, right? They're more accessible, which, that's one thing. Even for, other stuff, if you're doing painting and all that, it's a little bit more accessible now. With social media, you're able to talk to people. So that's the good. Like, I know there's a lot of bad about social media. That's the only good thing I think that came out of that. But at the same time...
Yeah, of course. Of course there are positives. I mean, I guess it's just the topic that we have on our hand that we're mentioning those. But yeah, of course. I mean, if it wasn't for our school, I wouldn't be here. Yeah. Like, I know for a fact. That's true. Like, they encouraged us to speak in English. They went to this extreme lengths of penalizing us if we didn't speak in English. I know a lot of my friends and relatives know this about me and my school that I went to. Even my wife here and my in-laws, they all know about it because I usually talk about it when they ask how things were in India and things of that nature. So, yeah, that I've told them many times, like, we were penalized if we talked in Punjabi or Hindi or any other language, and you were to pay a fine. Yeah. Or you were to get a punishment.
And I know it's going to be a little bit, off the topic, but on that, I think it's good and bad at the same time, right? Because unlike more other countries, right, India is very unique in that aspect that each state in India is almost like another country, like, Spain, France, all those countries, right? Like, each different language, different history, and we go back, right? Like, I think India is one in current state that civilization that have survived. All of India is one of the oldest, right? Because especially in the area we are from, right? Punjab, Haryana, and all that area, that's around the area where Indus Valley civilization happened. Well, that occurred in the Pakistani side, but you get the point, right? It's been going on for so long that I think it is important for people there to stick to that as well, as in don't forget it. But I know what you mean, because English, because it's a more global language, like everyone is learning English. Everyone is, like in India, everyone is encouraged to be good at it, right? Especially all the private schools. So I get that point, but I just wanted to mention that because that's the only thing that, like, because for me, I didn't understand. Didn't start writing Punjabi when I was like second or third grade, right? Like, you don't even learn that in your kindergarten. I think it's compulsory now. I think Punjab government have made it compulsory, but stuff like that. Yeah, so it's good and bad as you're talking. Like there's also the
that's right? For sure it is. I think that's the thing. Like, you can't, especially talking about country or just education system or culture like India. You can't, in my opinion, you can't talk about the good without talking about the bad.
Well, I think that's about everything in life, though, right?
Yeah, in other countries as well. Like, if you see, there's a lot of good, but most of the times we assume the good outweighs the bad.
Yeah.
And I can't say that for India.
That's
for
true.
Sure. I
I
can't.
think it most
Uh,
most most of the time it's just cancelled out. But
yeah, and I know people are probably, I don't know if they're thinking that, oh, we are just hating on India, or just bashing at this point, but we're not. That's the reality. It's the facts. That's what happened with us.
yeah,
That's why we're here, cause of India, and wherever we're gonna end up is cause of India, because we grew up there.
yeah,
We had all our values and morals taught by our parents there. Like we I came to US when I was almost 20. Like I was an
yeah.
adult
I came.
when I
Yeah, I
came
came
here.
over when I was like, I think 18 and a half, almost 19 actually. Just
Yeah, and I mean, obviously there are things that shaped me when I got here, and it's not. I'm just don't want to say that it's everything's because of India, but most of it is because of
Yeah,
India. And then you come here, you learn, you get a different perspective, and you grow as a person. And I
yeah, I
think that
agree.
just comes with age as well. So I think we are kind of in a unique position. So just to clarify that, going back to the school, and actually I want to talk about the colleges. I was reading that all over Punjab, which is the population is right now is about 29 million,
Yeah,
which is
crazy.
crazy to me.
Yeah, that's
That's almost the population of
that's
Canada.
right. That's what I was gonna say.
um, there's only one. There's only one sports college in Punjab. Just one.
Yeah, that's
There are
the.
colleges that do sports, but not just for sports.
Yeah,
Isn't that ridiculous for 30 million people?
it is crazy.
Like how?
What's is that? That's the Patella one, right? What's the?
I'm not sure because I was reading it. That's what the one that comes to mind. That's another thing that we came, or at least for me, we came right here after high school. I didn't even get to see the rest
Yeah.
of India that I want to.
No,
I know you
agree.
went back and you were able to,
I was
but
able to
I haven't.
travel.
I really want to do
I
that.
was able to travel a little bit, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
See, that's the other thing, right? I think that's the good thing about India. It's so many cultures, mixed together. But I think that's also at
Oh
the
yeah.
same time the root cause of a lot of issues in India because everyone
Mm-hmm.
is so different, right? Like even Haryana and Punjab. I
Yeah.
know we were one state at one point, right? When there was Khalsa Raj, everyone
Yeah.
was under one. All those Rajasthan,
Mm-hmm.
Kashmir, all that was most of Pakistan too was under one kingdom.
Yep.
But I think since it's so diverse, and like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anywhere else in the world it's like that. Not even in China, because China has been, like there was. Sorry, what I'm trying to say is like India has been independent for 70 years, right? Before that, it was under British for how long? 250 years, right?
Yeah.
So this is
independence.
probably the
since
longest
47.
time that India has been like in the history, like 8,000 years of history or whatever, right? However it
Mm-hmm.
goes back, it's probably the longest time India, like all that part of the subcontinent, has been one country or
Mm-hmm.
one or three different
Yeah.
countries. It has always
Mm-hmm.
been getting together, split, right? Depending on who was ruling at the times when the Mughals were, right? Some parts were under there, or
Yeah.
Tamil kings, some parts were under there. So it's all over the place. So I think, that's another thing. I'm trying to link this to this just because I think that's another thing. Like, for example, people of Punjab are more proud of being, Punjabis there than India being Indian, right? And I see that for
Mm-hmm.
other states too. And I think the main reason
Yep.
is because there's different language, different cultures,
Mm-hmm.
and it is really hard to bring people together. They do come together. For example, they do come together in cricket, but it is really
Mm-hmm.
hard, I think. And I think because there's also, since it's like so many states in India, right? 30
Yeah.
states,
I mean,
and each state is trying to
I
be different. So I think they're fighting for the same budget, and there's not a lot of budget too. So it's it's that, right? Like, and also just on that, like Punjab and Haryana has the most facilities, sports facilities. Rest of India, it's
Mhm.
even worse anywhere else, right?
Oh yeah,
So-
that's what I'm saying. Punjab has all sports college. That's one college.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Like, that's mind blowing to me. That's the state of sport.
Yeah.
When I say sports, when I mean Olympics, I mean, our track and field players, or other volleyball, even field hockey, which we're doing so well in.
Yeah.
Like, how can we have this amount of people.
Well,
And it's not even that we don't have the budget. We do. People, the ministers, the MLAs,
they eat up all
just
the money.
put
right?
it in their pockets.
Yeah. Well, I
Like,
think I
how
think that's
corrupt.
the other thing, right? Like I've seen some things Canada and US are really bad at. They're able to
Yeah.
take away people and goes direct, like not for everything, but for a lot of this, there's like this. The organization is simple, right? In India, the organizational structure is so complex that it goes all over the place. While we're just talking about field hockey, India just won the bronze, so that's
Hey, let's go.
yep. So it's 5-4.
Finally.
India 5 and Germany 4. Yeah, finally a
Yeah.
bronze or a medal in hockey.
In hockey after 49
Yeah,
years.
it's just crazy to think.
That's something to celebrate.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad they got it done.
Yeah.
It's funny to see all the Punjabi players in there. So most of them are from Punjab.
Yeah.
And I know in
And
the
the
Olympic
sad thing is
ceremony, it was
the
them.
Indian women team. Sorry to cut you off.
lost.
They lost in the semifinals today, so
Yeah, I saw
so
that today.
They'll probably have the the bronze medal game soon. Who's it gonna be with? Oh, Great Britain, which India just
Mhm.
defeated. So it would be really interesting.
Yeah, we should be able to. And also, I think going back to the sports college or just the population versus the facilities thing, like how corrupt you gotta be to not give people what they need, basically. And I know this sounds exaggeration in terms of need, because you would see Punjab is one of the well-off states in India. Like it's financially doing way better than some of the other states. But if you go some of the other states, you get kids. It's so sad to see that they're they're doing child labor, first of all, which is ridiculous. Still happening in 21st century in 2021.
Yeah.
They're forced not to go to school because they're worried about getting fed twice a day. If not, they'll go on a piece of bread a day, because that's how things are. I think we talk about wealth gap in US. I think it's worse in India.
It's way worse. Way worse.
Yeah, the top of the top, the guy, the Ambanis, you probably heard of them. I know probably listeners probably know one of the richest persons in India. In the world.
I think it was like
India.
top 5 when.
Yeah, he's definitely top 5. He fluctuates. Yeah, the highest he's been in like the top 2.
It's crazy.
I'm not sure if he topped number 1 once.
No,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
think so.
He might have. That guy has just to put it in perspective, that guy has an 85-story house in Mumbai in the middle with a helipad on it with so much staff working in his house. That's his house, 85 stories. That's it. Like, and then you get people and kids on the street begging, or being forced to beg, or being forced to be, do child labor. It's just so ridiculous to me that we still don't have our priority states. More than 75 years of independence, and we're still struggling with the simple fact that if you don't treat the kids, or if the kids don't get the education that they need, and if their needs are not met, this is what's going to happen. And that's why I kind of feel bad talking about just sports, the ridiculousness in sports, because the sports is not even on their mind.
Yeah.
That's another huge factor.
Well, that's the thing,
They're
right?
trying to survive.
For example, here's the thing, like all those, I don't want to use the word, but that's how it is in India. Like all those people that are, in lower caste, right? And that are working, being rickshaw drivers or stuff like that, right? Like those people.
Breaks my heart.
Yeah, it breaks my heart, because those people are crazy talented. They have the most hardworking people, but only if they were given the right resources and, equal opportunity. There's like, to me, that's something every human should have, is equal opportunity to succeed, right? And that does not happen in India. Like it doesn't happen here as well, but it's even worse in India. Nobody gets that opportunity to just do whatever they please to do, right? It's really hard.
Yeah, and that's just that's the thing. I've read it so many times that India is so divided, and first of all, in religion, in language, even though we have more than 100 languages. That's just the languages,
Yeah.
and then their dialects
Yeah.
further. I don't even know. That's probably a couple hundred more. Like, that's the ridiculousness. If you go to another state in India, if they don't know Hindi and you don't know their
Yeah.
language, you're
Yeah.
screwed. You can't
Yeah.
communicate.
If you go to especially the southern states, right? Like if they don't know
because
English or Hindi, you are basically
Yeah.
screwed, because if you can't talk in Malayalam, you can't talk Tamil, right? You can't
Nope.
talk any of those
Yeah.
languages.
And because they come from Dravidian, the southernmost part of India, or half of India, the southern part, and the north is from Aryan race, or that's what it was. So it's just so ridiculous. It's beautiful that we still have a country that's, in a sense, that's technically working, not the best, but there's still people who are living side by side that you might not know their language, but you still have that, spirit of being together as a country and all that. But you get so much of the hate, the divisiveness from your religion to your caste to your different language. It's so divided that you can't even. Sometimes I think about it. I don't even know where to start. Like, how would you bring people together? I think the best answer that I can come up with is just education. And give each other equal rights. Like, those are just basic things. And I know people here or in Western world talk or tout about the freedoms you have, and the things that you can do here and maybe not in some of the other countries, which also brings me to the point. India is free.
I know.
But but you're not, though.
No, well, that's the thing, right? Like, for example, I know it's gonna be another different topic together. Like in India,
for sure,
if states don't have the power to do things, right? That has never been the case. And for a country that big with that much population, that can't function like that. U.S. functions very well. I know there's issues, but each state can make their own laws. That's why the South is different than North, right? And because each state make their own laws, you can be Democratic state, you can be Republican state, and they still work great as a nation. The reason being, every state has more power, and people from that state make the laws, right? If you know what I mean. There might be disagreements. You could be on the left, you could be on the right, but
you have federal laws, but you also have state laws.
I know there. What I'm saying is, same in Alberta. I mean, in Canada too, right? States do have a lot of powers. In India, states don't have a lot of power, or they did to an extent, but this government is taking all that away. There's more towards centralization, which you can't really do. To me, like, India should, like, a lot of people probably gonna hate me for saying this, but I think India should function more like a union rather than a country. What I mean by that is, you have laws that are good for the union, right? Then each state make their own laws, their own trades, everything. That way, it's a better competition among all states. Everything is going to get better. And you could still be, I'm not saying you have to be different countries. You can be one country, but your structure should be, like United States of America, right? It's united. It's a union of states. I know India, they say it's India's union of states, but it's not really. Not at this point. So to me, each state should have way more power, and if that's the case, they will be doing even more with, like sports even, right? That each state can decide, okay, this is what we're going to do with sports. This is what we're going to build. We need right now, for example, there's facilities in Punjab, for example. There's no facilities in other states, but then each state can look, there's facilities there, we need to bring, like, we need more players from us. There's going to be that competitive thing too, right? And then that adds to the fire too, and then you're trying to be best at everything. I think that's the other thing that I think India is missing. Like, they talk about nationalism, but I think more than that, you need to build on the states and then come collectively. If the states themselves are not that strong, India as a nation, like, for anything, can't be strong, right? Because there's always going to be that back and forth.
Yeah, that's what it makes me so sad when I think about it, that India as messed up things are India, as dysfunctional a society it is on a national level, we still have these amazing people doing these great things all across the world. I mean, you talk about doctors, you talk about scientists. I mean, I guess one thing we're doing good is academics.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that translates to
other parts.
sports someday.
And I think, again, on academics, right? In India, even if you're good at academics, you can't really, you can be good.
Nope.
But like, it depends what field you're in. But there's so many people and so little opportunities. You know, that's where the brain drain happens. That's why we are in Canada and USA, right? And we are not. Yeah. I'm not saying like we're the smartest bunch. You're probably the laziest. That's why we just got out of. We don't want to deal with that competition.
You it's funny that you say that. I've actually had someone a couple of times tell me, so why didn't you just stay there and fix it? I'm like,
you don't have the patience for that.
Yeah, and also, if you knew the issues that India's facing, you don't even know where to begin.
I know.
Like, I feel like in country of more than 1.3 billion people now, that think about a person trying to bring these changes, and nobody's helping him or her.
Yeah, I think the other thing, like in India, that's really, really hard is, the competition is the first thing, and I think it's the society as a whole, right? Like, the mindset is a lot different. The mindset is just to get by or get the government job, and then you're done. Right? It's never to build things, right? That's the other thing. Like, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but in here, that's what you encourage the intern. I can't pronounce the words. I'm just gonna say, you're more encouraged to create your own stuff, right? Be your own boss. I know a lot of people don't do that, but
be your own self.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not what's encouraged in India.
Yeah,
that in India you're supposed to go this cookie cutter route of you go to school, you go to college, you get a amazing score. When I say amazing, like 98, 99%, because otherwise you don't have a chance to get a job. Like, what are the rest supposed to do?
Yeah. Well,
like, that's this huge migration of people. Just they do high school, they give their English test, they come here. We are one of them. We are probably the first wave. Now there's this like second or third wave going on. Nobody wants to stay there because there's so much competition, too less jobs, and then
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say on the same topic. Like, I know when I came, right, there were not there were a lot of my classmates are here, but I think we were like the first or the second batch that started doing that from our school. Yeah. But I know after that, like in my village, for example, we're a village of 1,400 people, right, and maybe 100 to 150 families, right? Out of those, I'm willing to bet at least 50% of families have someone that is our age, or that was after school.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That has gone out of India, which is crazy to think about, right? It's a small village of 1,400 people.
My village that I came from is even smaller. It's probably just a couple of hundred people. It's my village is literally on a single road. If you keep going, it'll start and it'll end in it's not even like half a mile long in terms of area. Like, that's how small it is, and everybody knows everyone, kind of thing. And even in my village, where I come from, like, you'll at least have one person that's in one of these Western countries, let it be US, Canada, Australia, England, or somewhere in Europe, Spain. We even have one of the dudes from our village that's in Greece. And it's just so ridiculous and also it kind of shows that what's wrong right now with the society in India, because you don't have opportunities. Unless you're the cream of the crop, you don't have a chance.
Yeah, that's true.
And there are no government jobs. The government jobs that are available have been filled until the people retire.
Basically.
Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Like,
there are no new jobs, or very little.
Yeah, and then you get private companies that are investing more and more now. That's another huge topic that we not want to go into, actually, not in this podcast, because that'll be another podcast. They don't pay you anything. They barely pay you. They pay you 10,000 rupees a month, 15,000
which is
rupees a month.
crazy.
That's literally nothing.
Yeah.
You can't survive off of that
Well,
money. That's like basically you getting just your
yeah.
groceries with that.
No, here's the
money.
thing. Like my engineer friends from India, right?
Uh-huh.
They
Yep.
have to, because there are no jobs in Punjab and all that, right? You have to go to Bangalore, you have to
Yep.
go to Delhi, where
Mhm.
you pay higher rent. You can't be at your own place, right?
Yep.
So you have to. That's an additional cost that you have to pay, and they
Mhm.
make anywhere like on average they just make anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000, 1,000 rupees. So not dollars,
Yeah.
rupees.
Yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah. So that much rupees a month, which to get by in a big city is really crazy. So what they have to do, they can't really start a family at that money, right? If they do, they'll
Mm-mm.
be struggling. So what they are doing is basically that like 10 people living in one place, or they're living in,
Yeah.
in a work accommodation or whatever, right? And they're being worked like slaves at this point. To me, like some of them are working
Yeah.
like 16, 17 hours a day, and they're not paid. Like they get bonuses, right? But that's just like when you work that much, the bonus is not enough to compensate. So
Mhm.
it's crazy stuff like that that
It's-
just drives me
And
crazy.
the thing is, I'm reading. I was just looking it up right now that the inflation rate in India grew by 6.2%
Holy shit.
in just June alone.
God
Just
damn
June
it.
2020. Like, can you imagine the wages have been stagnant? It's kind of similar to US, but it's just worse in
Yeah.
India. And I'm looking at these statistics, and I'm like, how? Like,
Well, I
the
think
US has
sorry to cut you off. The big thing is
yes,
privatization of everything. I know.
Yep.
See, you have a little bit different perspective from me being in Canada, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of good social
Yep.
programs here, and I think they
Mhm.
do help out. To get people better opportunities. Like to make sure
Mhm.
everyone can get better
Oh yeah,
opportunities.
for sure.
And I think in India, since everything is going to be privatized, can you see there's not going to be any reservations, right? Reservations in privatization.
Yeah,
So
that's
now,
another
all
thing.
the-
I don't think some of their viewers understand. You wanna
yeah, well,
explain reservations to them?
yeah. So reservation is something I hate, and for some things I
Same.
hate. Sometimes I'm okay with, but what it
Mhm.
is basically a system that has your caste-based reservation in India.
Mhm.
The thing I don't like about it is it's
So-
caste based. Even you could be a millionaire, but it's still caste based.
Mm.
So you get higher
Yeah.
preference than. So the lower class has some reserved seats, in school, at jobs, etc.
So-
Right? Even in
Yeah,
parliament.
when
But you could be higher
Just to-
class. And
yeah, sorry to cut you off, but just to give you a perspective, let's say you passed your college or your whatever test that you're supposed to for your job at 60%. If you're a lower caste, you get the preference, even though the person in general category, which is the higher caste, which is so ridiculous to say now, because
to me,
coming to
yeah,
US and the
to
other
me, like
parts of the
I-
world,
I,
and I'm like,
I
what
get
is
it
going
to a
on?
point, right? Like that whole thing, because when you're lower class,
Yeah,
you're just not studying, right? You're doing other things, you're
Mhm.
working, trying to support your family. Most lower class, so that makes sense. But it's not lower caste per se. It should be based on your
No.
income, right? Like if you
Yeah.
what you're doing, right? I think it was a good idea, but I don't think it's implemented in a proper way. To me, doing it just by caste is not. But what I'm saying is, with that privatization, even it did do some good, right? A lot of people who were really
Mhm.
low class and who studied were able to get into school, get better education, get a good job. So that was good. But with privatization, there's no reservation there, right?
No.
And that's all going to
No.
go away. And that's the same for private schools. Same for private schools, of course, you have to pay, but it's same for
Yeah.
all private colleges. I think most private colleges are like that. And then it's same for all the jobs. You fine?
Yeah, sorry. I hate obviously the reservations and the things that's going on. But yeah, privatization is good and bad. It's kind of the necessary evil at this point because the government's not doing anything.
Well,
The government's just
yeah.
paying off contracts to these, collecting money from these companies, and these companies are taking advantage of whoever they're employing, whoever they're making or giving contracts out to, buying people's produce. Let's say that's a whole another topic that we would like to discuss on farmers' protest that's going on for 6 months now, more than that.
Yeah.
So it's just necessary, but just the quota system or the reservation system, it tells you that the general population is being literally driven out of the country just like us because they have nowhere to go. What are you going to do when you have 80% or 85 or even 90%, but you can't get a job because someone with 60 or 55% is preferred? And there are no government jobs. And I think unless you're from India or you're from the country that's similar to India, I guess you won't understand the perspective, especially here in North America.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you are earning X, right? Like, to me, that's how the social programs in USA and Canada work, right? You get assistance based on what you're earning, and what's your financial situation. If India did it that way, it would work because they do have the funding, right? When you think about it, right? They do have the funding and everything, right? So you'll get the support, but
they do have money.
But you have to do the work. To me, that's how it is. And and now it's the same. The quota system is same for sports as well, in a way that let's say you were okay at sports, but you played some sports, and then you are from a lower class. It's easier for you to get into some stuff. But then that could have been a place for a player who was really good, but never got a chance. So it's both, right? It's the yin and yang, right? At the same time.
And if we talk about GDP, India's GDP is $2.86 trillion US dollars a year. Meanwhile, UK, United Kingdom, is 2.82. So we have more GDP than the UK. Yeah. So that clearly means we have money.
Yeah,
it's not being allocated where it should be.
But you also see the population, right? That's the thing. The GDP is it's not per capita, right? Like per capita would be crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely not. But I'm just saying the problem isn't the money. Yeah. The problem is the government officials, the elected officials, also, they're messing things
also
up.
To make a change, right? Like it's the vote bank policy, right? They can't really make a certain change like that and then lose all the votes, right?
Yeah, that's true. So. And I know that you brought up the per capita GDP stuff, but that's in US dollars. Can you convert that to rupees? That's ridiculous. Yeah. That's I don't even know, more than however trillion that is. So it's not about money. It's about people. It's about allocation. It's about actually caring for your constituents and caring for people that you represent supposedly, or you're supposed to. And it just drives me insane that none of them go to where it should be, and all of them just land in their pockets. Our prime minister right now, I mean, I know I'm probably gonna get heat for this, but it's one of the most corrupt people that I can think of. I
agree.
in modern history, in terms of Indian history. Like, this dude is bagging billions a year. I'm not even kidding. Yeah. Like, the corruption level. He's building a freaking palace for his own home in New Delhi. Like, you can see his preference and his priorities, where they lie. Like, he doesn't care. He incites people in the name of religion. He incites them in the name of, he pretends to be we are a sovereign country and every religion is allowed and all that things. But he's the one. He was banned to enter the U.S. in 2003, 2004 because of the massacre that occurred in Gujarat, his home state, where he was directly responsible for the killing of minorities in his state. Yeah. Like, and he's the prime minister now. Imagine this. Yeah. Like, this is the state that India is in. Like, even if things were 10% better, I can't even imagine how our country as a whole would be better. Yeah. It just drives me insane.
Yeah, I think the main issue is the people have been brainwashed too. Like I don't really want to say that,
Oh yeah.
but in a sense that's what's happening, right? Because people are
Yeah.
led to. It's also it's fear mongering in a way, right? That's what Trump did in
It is.
USA. They say, oh, you're
Yeah,
the minority.
they're best
Yeah,
friends.
but the the majority is in danger, which is always funny to me.
Yep.
That's what they
And
say.
in India, as we talked about, states don't have power. So if you are in the majority, when I say majority, I mean
Yeah.
religious majority, you're always gonna win. This dude might as well win every other election there's gonna be until he's
Yeah,
alive,
because
because
he was
there's
able to
the
hack in the
opposition
system.
is so weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, the main guy in the opposition has lost every election he's ever took part in or stood for,
Yeah.
and there's no competition. And if there is, they got their whole gang ready to mess things up, to make sure to fearmonger and get the votes that they need. Or even better yet, why bother? You're just gonna manipulate the voting machines.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're still using machines, because they could be hacked anyway.
Yeah.
I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist,
no,
but
that's where.
this is actually happening in
Just
India.
on that, I think we need to have blockchains for voting.
That'll be amazing.
Yeah, that's a dream, but yeah, we eventually. I think that's how.
Have it decentralized for real.
Yeah, that's how I think we eventually would need to do voting, because
Hey, that's a good utility.
Yeah.
Going back to our first episode of cryptocurrency.
yeah, because when you think about it, blockchain would be the perfect vote. Like I know it's gonna be a little bit
Oh, yeah.
harder to figure out, but if you
Mhm.
can be linked properly with your blockchain, right? Like then there's no way to fake it, right?
No,
If you implement it properly, there's no really a way to fake it. So I know a person can only dream, but that's something I wish
Yeah.
that could happen.
Yeah. And I know that we're going on these tangents, and we started off with the Olympics and sports, but you need to understand what's going on to have a bigger picture in terms of why it is so bad.
Yeah.
Why a country of more than 1 billion people struggle to produce one gold, because that's not even a priority in some of the people's life. That's not even a reality to be able to play sports.
Yeah.
So this is the things that are going on.
Yeah, I agree.
And going back to the corruption thing, I guess, when I say they pocket the money, not only that, they give money to their relatives, their kids.
Yeah.
They pass it on.
Hey,
Buy these huge amounts of property.
it shouldn't be the haters. They're building generational wealth.
Yeah, for real. Jeez,
God.
they're looting people
Yeah.
and building their generational wealth.
Basically.
Uh,
Well,
and
that happens
positions
everywhere,
of power go.
though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but not. I don't think it happens at that level
That's
anywhere else in the
No,
world.
I agree.
And also, like, if you're a son or a daughter of a leader or of a politician or an actor, even the politics has even gone into Bollywood now, and it's just so ridiculous, and it's just making it worse. If you're son or daughter of a leader, you're gonna get the job. You probably don't even need to get a job because you're so wealthy and all the money that you've had, and also your dad or your mom, whoever was the politician, probably is just gonna hook you up with something.
Yeah.
A job, a company, a
Well,
contract
you can
worth
you can
billions
say
of
I'm
dollars.
Rishad's son, right? He's running the BCCI now,
Yeah.
and I know he's nowhere near. Well, maybe they are because they're good. They're good at organization, right? That's how they got into the government, right? But they
Yeah.
understand that part of it at least.
And and the thing is, the members of parliament are convicted felons. They've been accused of killing people, and they're in charge. They're chief ministers, which is kind of like a governor in our sense of the whole state. Like, imagine that. Like, what do you expect from that guy?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
Can you imagine that if that
India-
happened here? if
Yeah,
Trudeau did it, or if
I mean, you do get some allegations here and there,
But it's not
and
really
of
like
misconduct,
yeah,
but not somebody killing and actually winning the race.
here I think people are able to hold politicians more accountable, and the main main thing you can see is Trump, right? Even though he had such great support, he lost because he did some fucked up shit, and people held him accountable. Like I don't want to get to
Yeah.
the left and right of things, right? Because you
Yeah.
know that's everyone's own business. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it is crazy that he did have a lot of support, but
Yeah, and
his supporters gave up on him because he just fucked up on a lot of shit.
yeah, and also it goes back to schooling. People here are at least informed of what's going on.
Yeah.
In India, I don't even think people know what's going on because they can't even afford to, in a sense. And even if they want to, they have to jump through these bullshit stories that they're feeding the media now. The government controls the media. Like,
Yeah.
imagine that. I mean, I say imagine that, but it's actually happening.
Yeah, well,
It's so
to be
ridiculous.
honest, right? I think that kind of happens everywhere, right? Like that happens in Canada.
It does,
to-
but not at the level
Oh,
of
no, that I
covering for
agree.
someone
Yeah.
that is
Well, in
like, you know,
yeah,
blatantly
in
doing these
USA and
things.
Canada, I think there are two sides of the media, right? There's the left media, there's
Mhm.
the right media, right? And you see like
Yeah.
Fox is the right, and the left would be
Mhm.
MSPC and like CNN and all that. It's same in Canada. But you
Mhm.
do have some, who are more centrist or who are more, like, for example, there were few, I forgot the name. There's The Hill. I think there's that
Mhm.
one. They started their own show, but that's
Yeah.
an Indian guy, Sagar, and I forgot the female's
Mhm.
name. But
Yeah, they were on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I listened to that podcast.
yeah, so they started their own show right now, right? To
Mhm.
me, like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's something good that's happening here. In India,
Yeah, for
India,
sure.
there's not a lot, right? The only good one that I
Uh-uh.
know that tries to hold everyone accountable is NDTV. They, I've seen, like, people say they're more left, but not really. They're basically they're the ones who usually pointing, even when Congress was in power, right? They were pointing, okay, this is
Mhm.
bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good. But I think also, I think this social media have divided people. Like, I know I'm going off a
For
tangent
sure.
again with left and right,
Yeah.
but that was never the case, right? It was basically like in India, it was Congress, BJP, or whatever, right? But it
Mhm.
was, I think it was more about, it was not really left and right. I think it was more about what you liked. I think that's
Mhm.
that's the social media
Yeah, they
engines,
go
right?
kind of by candidate in India, I
Yeah.
guess, rather than party.
Yeah, that happened, but I think
But
the social media have changed that. That's the bad part.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm so grateful that for that as well. Like, the youth is obviously was in the knowing, but now you have these older generations who are on social media and are able to see different perspective. So just to let you guys know, I mean, people in India have lived there. If you're not going to US or other Western countries, or you don't have a visa, they've lived all their lives in same place. They've generations upon generations upon generations of the same thing.
Yeah, well,
the same
to
values.
be honest, right? That's also the case for a lot of redneck areas in US and here, right? And that's
Mhm.
and you see if you compare the mindset,
it is everywhere.
the mindset is pretty similar, right? When you think about it, right?
But it is. But I'm just saying, not at the scale that India.
Yeah,
Just
that's true.
because of the
Well, that's
population,
true. In India,
it
it's
makes it
way
ridiculous.
more. Yeah,
And yeah, so they've probably never seen a white person or a black person in their life.
that's true.
And they're just, if you are one of them and you visit Punjab or any other part of the country, you're like a celebrity.
I agree.
Like,
I've
I'm not
actually
even
done
kidding.
it because before ever coming to Canada, I remember we
Yeah.
went to Golden Temple, the Harmandir Sahib,
Yeah,
right?
that's the usual place to find them.
Yeah, and I found someone, and my mom was with me, and she said, "Oh, go talk to that white guy." I'm like, "Oh, yeah,
I know.
what?" But
I know. I as a kid, I actually remember getting excited. But that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, if we weren't here, we wouldn't understand. And they're not here, so they don't understand. So that is kind of going back to the perspective thing, that if you don't get out of your bubble, if you're not out of your comfort zone in a sense, you're not going to get the other perspective. And whatever's going on, all these messed up things about caste system, even just the racism within our own country, in terms of, you would say wouldn't exist, but yeah, you're preferred if you're light skinned, you're not preferred if you're
Yeah.
dark skinned. Like, it's so messed
Yeah.
up still.
well,
And
sorry, just to
it's ridiculous to see.
just to go back on the hockey you were talking earlier, just to correct, it's after 41 years that India won a medal.
I think the 49 was probably in my mind, maybe because of the women's
Oh, okay.
tournament. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's a long time for someone we call one sport that we call the national
Yeah.
sport. We shouldn't be that bad at it.
Makes me wonder.
Yep. So I guess to tie out everything, this is where we are.
Yeah.
This is where India is as a country, and all this to say that I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for
The next generation.
the things that are changing now, the things for the next generation, just our generation bringing things forward, and the generation after us is basically just gonna bring things even further in terms of equal, opportunities, in terms of lesser discrimination, in terms of lesser racism.
Yep.
Even though it's still gonna exist, I'm not saying it's just gonna evaporate, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that things are changing for the better, but just given the huge amount of people, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And if we can get right people at the right jobs, it'll be way, way, way better to what it is now. And I'm really hopeful. I know I keep saying that word, but I really am.
I think that's the one good thing that the education has done. That the new generation is getting, is going out more, or reading stuff that's not from India, right? And well, I'm not saying India should be following West. That should not be. I think what India needs to do is go to what India was, but in a way that in 2021, I hope I make sense, because India has been a great nation. Like the history is crazy good. Like for 5,000 years, right? We survived, and that's one of the longest going civilizations. So to me, what basically, or lowercase nation and group of people, I think that's the right word to say. But I think that's what India need to do, right? To have their values, but at the same time to make them in a way that or use them in a way that you can excel at the the international level.
Yeah, and you get all the opportunities that you want.
Yeah.
And I know I'm using the word want. It's more of a need right now, but I think I'm hopeful we'll go to a place that where it's more inclusive. I think that's where we want to be.
Yep.
We want to go back in time when everybody lived peacefully or had more rights than it is now, because I feel like on a democracy level we were bumped down. I mean, that was all over the news. Like India is not, it was considered, now India is considered partially democratic.
Yeah, because
it's not even democratic.
Yeah,
because of the government.
Yeah, they're turning into a dictatorship right now.
Yeah, it is a dictatorship. He won again, so that means he's going to be here 10 years. I mean, straight. And so it's just, I'm hopeful that the young generation who are there, who want to stay there and serve the country in terms of, let it be military, public service, be a politician. I know a lot of people don't want to do that, but you're gonna have to if things have to change. And I think it's happening slowly. Just if you see at the police force nowadays, they're more honest than they used to be. They're less corrupt because of the new generation that's enrolling. And same in the military or other forms of public service, whatever it may be. So I'm hopeful that things would change for the better, and that does include sports. That does include all these things once you get the basis covered.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's I'm excited about what's going to happen. Hopefully, we're alive to see see that happens.
Yeah, for sure.
It happens in the next coming, at least in this decade, the stuff changes.
Yeah.
But we can wish for the best.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is the topic that we knew that we were gonna have a long podcast on, because there's so many things to cover. Yep. But I think I'm happy with our conversation and the things that we talked about, because it needs to be said and it needs to be put out there, because I feel like people are so stuck in their own ways and dealing with everyday life just like us, and it's important for people to speak out. And
I think it's
put it online.
It's really
put it across the world.
It's really good to have the conversation. I think that's the main thing. That's something that's not happening, is the conversation. Because when you do that, to me that sparkles something right in people, and then and it goes from there.
Yeah, and I think that was like a major motivation for both of us because we wanted to put our ideas and our thoughts out there on different topics that we care about. So this is really, I really enjoyed this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Be sure to leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, and follow us and all that good stuff. So thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye.